everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We have a webinar with the National Alliance for Youth Sports and Sterling Volunteers. We're going to be talking all about our partnership. My name is Kate Namachalahi. I am the Director of Education Programs for NAYS, National Alliance for Youth Sports. And I'll be joined by Kimberly Shoan, Vice President of Partnerships for Sterling Volunteers, as well as Troy Gerber, Sales Executive for Sterling Volunteers. And together, the three of us are going to introduce you to our unique partnership. We're helping youth sports organizations both screen and train their youth sports coaches in a really seamless process. We're going to give you a demo of that. We know that due to the coronavirus and social distancing measures that the majority of youth sports programs are not in session right now. It's a very strange and difficult time, but we also know that someday, somehow, youth sports will resume, and we appreciate you being here, taking time to plan for the future when that time does come. So again, we appreciate you. Thank you for being here. A few housekeeping items about the webinar. We are shooting for a 45-minute presentation that includes time for question and answer session at the end. So as we go through our slides and our demonstration, please, we want your participation. So type in your questions and comments. In the GoToWebinar panel, there is a chat box. When you type those in, we get notifications and we'll be able to respond to your questions at the end. You are in listen-only mode, so just chat in if you have anything you want to contribute. Also, we will be recording this session and we'll email it to everyone who registered afterwards. Feel free to share that. We'll be posting it on the NAYS website as well. If for any reason, Kim, Troy, and I are all joining from our home computers and phones, so if anything unexpected, technical difficulties happen during the webinar, and the three of us will get together, we'll record a presentation and email it out to everyone. Again, not anticipating anything, but you never know what happens. Today's agenda is similar to what you saw on the About page when you registered for the webinar, but I'm first going to give a little bit of an overview about NAYS and how we got involved with Sterling Volunteers in the first place. Kim will talk about the background of Sterling Volunteers, their company, and also some details about the background check and what that includes. Then I'll return and give a demonstration of our customized integration. That's the coach training and screening program. I'm going to take you through some processes on our website for coaches and youth sports organizations, so you'll see how an organization can handle the background check statuses and make eligibility decisions when background checks come in. And Troy Gerber is going to talk about the credentialing process, so how to get signed up with Sterling, and also some additional screening options for anyone who is not going to be going through the NAYS coach training. There's still ways that you can do background checks on other individuals, like your staff or other volunteers. And again, mention the question and answer, so hopefully you have some questions for us at the end. If not, we might wrap up a little bit sooner, we'll see. If you stumbled upon this webinar and you're not familiar with NAYS, just a quick background. We were founded in 1981 as a volunteer youth sports coach training and membership program. The moms and dads who signed up to coach their kids' teams needed a little bit of support, how to work with a group of kids, how to coach the sport they're going to be coaching. And we were one of the first organizations to say, you know what, let's provide some sort of training. At that point, it was training manuals, but it's really come a long way. We have everything video-based, online. We have trainings for not only coaches, but also youth sports administrators, officials, parents, and then we have some other resources and programs that complement those as well. So feel free to explore our website for tons of other free resources, articles, and some of our other membership programs. And when we're talking today, we're really specifically talking about the coaches membership program. We have a training for coaches that includes a couple different required sections. So they go through a coaching youth sports training, +1 sport, and our code of ethics. And when they do that, they get access to our membership. It includes $1 million of liability insurance, a lot of coaching resources on our website. And we knew that a lot of the member organizations, the organizations that affiliate with us to train their coaches, they were also doing background checks on these coaches. And over the years, we've worked with different companies that are background check providers. And at one point we said, we really need a more seamless way for our youth sports organizations to handle this process of a new coach is signing up with their league. How can they get a background check and go through the NAYS coach training really easily? So we've always encouraged youth sports organizations to do background checks on their coaches. And maybe you're familiar with this guidelines document that we've had. It's been updated over the years about background screening. If you are, you'll know that the background check, the criminal background check, is just one element of the screening process that you would take when you're hiring new volunteers. But definitely take a look at that. We have some recommendations for what a disqualifying offense would be in a background check, other elements of screening a coach like an interview process and that sort of thing. That's a free resource on our website. And when we decided that we could make this process more seamless, we knew that NAYS was not going to be a background check company. They're experts in that field, and we spent a lot of time vetting different background check providers and deciding, all right, who do we want to really work with for the long haul to build a system? And that's when we decided to start our partnership with Sterling Volunteers. So if you are using the NAYS coach training for your coaches and you want to do background checks, they're providing a great rate and excellent service, and there's a way to integrate the process. That's what we're going to talk about today, and we've been really excited. This has been it's been launched for a year solid now, but we've had a little under 100 organizations started the enrollment process so far. So there's been a lot of interest in it, but we know that it's something that could benefit a lot more NAYS member organizations. So again, thanks for being here, taking your time. I'm going to turn it over to Kimberly Shaw, and she is with Sterling Volunteers, as I mentioned. I'm going to give her the keyboard and mouse control so she can go through this section of the presentation. So go ahead.
Thank you, Kate. So what I'm going to be doing is just giving a brief overview of Sterling Volunteers, and then jump into a few of our key benefits and differentiators, and then talk a little bit more about our advanced background check, which the majority of the NAYS organizations run. So moving into our overview, we've been a trusted partner of NAYS since 2016, so a good 4 years behind us on this partnership. We also are a division of Sterling, and Sterling runs employee background checks, and we are the nonprofit division of Sterling, and they are a global leader in background and identity services. We actually used to be called Verified Volunteers, and some of you may recognize that name, and we rebranded to Sterling Volunteers for a more cohesive brand across all the Sterling divisions, and that happened in 2019. And while we had a name change, we never have deferred from our mission, and we now only have greater impact now that we have a cohesive brand moving forward. Okay, this is not working. Bear with me. Our partnership ecosystem consists of 40 national profits, and that includes Meals on Wheels America, Catholic Charities, NAYS, and a slew of other iconic brands. We also are integrated with 25 different technology companies, and we have 40 regional partnerships. And why those regional partnerships are so important is they are at the community grassroots level, and so we are able to disseminate our best practices and knowledge and expertise down to that local level really with the mission of keeping the vulnerable population safe and creating safer environments to volunteer and work in. We now have over 2 million pre-vetted volunteers in our database and over 7,000 nonprofits, which is pretty impressive given that we launched verified volunteers at the time back in September of 2013. So just in 7 years, we have created this amazing database of quality pre-vetted volunteers. And we also collectively have saved the nonprofit sector a little over $3.5 million based on volunteer contributions. And that number was in the 12 months of 2019. And just to give you a context, in the years 2017 and 2018 combined, that savings was 1.6 million. So literally in 2019, we were able to almost double the savings that we passed back to nonprofit organizations. We also provide free monthly nationwide and sex offender updates in all packages. This has set us apart from the beginning amongst the screening providers that are out there. And we do this to add on that layer of security and give peace of mind, because you really never know what the intention of the volunteer is once they start serving. And so this allows us to monitor that throughout the year and again, provide that layer of security. Our core values are centered around quality, compliance, service, and safety. And then we also, being part of Sterling, and taking advantage of the innovative technology that they provide, we're able to provide a very efficient, user-friendly platform and have turnaround times that are industry leader turnaround times. And then it's important to mention that we are an accredited member of the Professional Background Screeners Association. And what this means is that we're just held to the highest legal and ethical standards, and only less than 10% of screening companies are accredited. So I always like to point that out. Moving right along, if this will allow me to. I also want to point out that we have a plethora of complementary thought leader resources, and this actually goes above and beyond background screening. This is all located in our resource section on our website, but the reason why I like to highlight this is there's some content that's really applicable and resonates to the nonprofit sector, whether it's a white paper on counting the cost of a bad volunteer or annual research report that dives into volunteer and organizational insights. We've got this all at your fingertips and available to you at no charge. It's all complimentary, and you can find that on our website in the resource section. Now I just want to touch on a few of our key benefits and differentiators. I already kind of talked about the quality and compliance screening as one of our core values, as well as the free monthly updating that sets us apart. We also have customized payment options. This is another way nonprofits can save. You can choose to pay 100% of your coach's check, or you can split that with a volunteer in various ways. You can also have the coach give an optional contribution, and we have actually seen through our 2 million plus volunteers, about 35% optionally contribute, and it ends up covering on average 90% of the cost of the check. So huge savings there embedded into our platform. We also empower the volunteers to order and manage their background checks and also share within their communities. This also helps save on time and cost. And so we really are mobilizing, and the first to mobilize, a community of pre-vetted volunteers across the country. We have a simple self-service ordering process that literally takes less than 5 minutes, on average about 3 if you want to be exact. And this also allows for both the nonprofits and the volunteers to easily navigate and review the background checks, and our turnaround time is actually really quick as well. On the administrator dashboard side, we have free management software. It somewhat acts as a mini volunteer management system. We have customizable columns in there. We have a slew of reports that you can download in one click. And we've been told that our platform, and Troy's going to give you a glimpse into that a little bit later, but we've been told it's one of the easiest to navigate within the nonprofit sector. We also have an amazing dedicated customer care team called the Advocates, and it is a big reason why over the last 7 years we still hold a 99.7% client retention, whether you have whether you're an organization of 5 coaches or tens of thousands like we do screen for NCAA. It doesn't matter. We treat everyone with TLC, and the Advocates are there with high response rates. And I can't say enough about our customer service. It's actually one of the best in the industry. And I alluded to the speed and turnaround times. We have several packages that we offer nonprofits in youth sports. The most common one is advanced. And right now we're averaging about 15 hours turnaround time, which once the coach orders their background check in the platform, within less than a day, they'll be receiving a copy of it. And then the organization also automatically receives a copy in their dashboard. Innovative technology is a huge reason why people love us. We have different proprietary pieces of software built into our platform. The Smart Builder technology, basically once that coach starts to order their background check, by the time they get out to step 4, the payment process, we've already calculated based on where they live any extra fees that are associated with their county of residence. And so this also helps when in step 3, when they're signing off on the consent and disclosure statements, that's also already built in. So it really makes for a user-friendly experience and an expedited one. We also are connected to many of the courts, end-to-end automated connection to court with Court Direct, and this allows us to tap into the courts even during this COVID time where there's a widespread of court closures. We are still operating at a 99% fulfillment rate, and we've been hearing that other screening providers are operating at some of their 30% incomplete background checks because they do not have that automated technology and are basically relying on court runners, and when the courts are closed, no one can go in. So we're happy to share that information that we really haven't skipped a beat during this this crazy COVID time. And then we also have Locator Select, which taps into about 2/3 of the sheriff departments and county jails. And that again is also proprietary. And then regarding our secure data protection, we value and trust our clients and partners and that they place that trust in us. And we consistently work to maintain that trust by building privacy protection into every single thing that we do. Now I'm just going to dive in a little deeper into the primary package that we offer in youth sports, and that's the advanced search package. Some key notes here is that you'll see, a variety of background checks in the marketplace, and you have to realize that not all background checks are created equal. And so a quality compliance check really looks at various databases and layers those. So if you think of a piece of Swiss cheese that has gaps, by layering them, you're going to fill that in and you're going to have a quality compliant background check. And so with the advanced search, we have the social security trace, and a lot of people actually think that a social security number is required to run a background check, and that is actually not the case. A background check is typically run on a name-based search, or if you're doing fingerprinting, that's a biometric search. So with our advanced search, the social is actually not required, but about 98% of our volunteers do input it. Another important component of the advanced search is our NSOPW, the National Sex Offender Registry by the Department of Justice. This is the foundation of all of our searches. It's the most important. It's real time, and it crosses all 50 states with the exception of Nevada due to Nevada state laws. But this, if you run anything, you should be running the NSOPW. And then we also do a nationwide criminal search. So if you think about casting that wide net over the country and having it settled down into the counties, it's a nice layered search, but you can't really depend on it because some counties don't report into it. But we do validate it at the court and county level, which is at the Court of State Screening. And then the OFAC government sanctions list, that is basically the no-fly list, the terrorists, the drug trafficking that we monitor. And then the current county and state criminal record search, we go directly to the court, again, at the Court of State Screening. And then, of course, I mentioned our free monthly updating, which we run for a year. And then on the anniversary of the coach's check, if they renew their check, we will reset those monthly updates and run them for another year. And the reason why we do it for a year is because that's a best practice to do annual rescreening. And not all nonprofits actually screen annually. Some screen every 2-3 years. So we keep the cadence of annual rescreening as a best practice. And then for those of you living in Florida, we do have the FDLA package option. So basically, you get the advanced search plus the level 1, which is an additional $24 that is required by the FDLA. And then through all of this, we actually absorb all of the cost for the government repository fees. There's about 3,800 court repositories in the U.S. and about 4% charge a fee. We absorb that with the exception of New York, which is astronomical, and it is the highest in the country at $95. But in our system, we do have a hold queue that you could take advantage of as well. And so that's just a brief overview of Sterling Volunteers. And Kate, now I'm going to pass it back to you to continue on.
You can see why we decided to work with Sterling, and I can attest to their customer service because as an integration partner, we often have to speak with different levels of customer service at Sterling, and it's always very prompt, and they get the issues fixed really quickly if there is anything. So we've loved that. And she mentioned the advanced level. That's what is built into the NAYS coach integration. And I'm going to talk about the steps for signing up and getting enrolled. So if you are a NAYS member organization, you can enroll in the integration. If you're not a NAYS member organization, it's free to get set up. That means you want to do the coaches training program. We have an interest form on our website that can get you quickly added to our database, and we can get you all the details on enrolling in the integration as well. But first would be to be a member organization to complete your background check enrollment through NAYS. I'll give you a demo of that. The second step is to sign up as a client with Sterling Volunteers if you're not already. So that part Troy is going to talk about towards the end. Then once we get notification from Sterling that you're set up with them properly, we have a way to link our two systems securely. And when that happens, you would get a confirmation from NAYS that everything's set up properly, and you can begin having your coaches sign up. NAYS member organizations will be familiar with the login page, but this is how you would go to start the process of enrolling in the background check integration through the NAYS side. You'd log into your member organization account. There's a few different ways to get to the background check page, but if you're on the home page, you can go under more features and click the background checks link. This will be a page that has the screening guidelines I mentioned earlier, your integration status with NAYS and Sterling, and also some more details about Sterling and what the partnership looks like and the benefits and that sort of thing. So a lot of different info here, but in the middle, your background check status would say not enrolled, and there's a link to sign up and start the process. This would take you to the sign up form. You'll see it's 5 different steps. It's an acknowledgement. You're saying you understand what is involved with the advanced level background checks, how our integration works. You're also able to set your payment preferences. So if you want the coaches to pay for the background check, or if you decided that your organization is going to pay for the background check, and then same with the NAYS training. So it could be anything. It could be a member organization pays for the background check, but the coach pays for the training. So you'll be able to set those preferences here. And you'd also be able to decide who from your NAYS member organization is able to view the background check statuses for your coaches. So if you don't want someone who has access to these other features through NAYS to see that a coach has a background check report, then you can set those here. And you can always return to this section if you want to change any of those preferences. Once you complete that sign-up form, we would contact you, a NAYS team member would contact you with some more details. And the important thing is that you get this link to start the Sterling Volunteers sign-up process. There's a quick application, and it's making sure that you know that your integration is not set up yet until you sign up with Sterling as well. I mentioned so just as a review here, you sign up through NAYS, you do your Sterling credentialing. Once we link the two databases and you get your confirmation from NAYS, you're able to log back in and register your coaches. You'll also get the NAYS background check user guide, and this is all the different procedures, so you can refer to this if you have any common, frequently asked questions are going to be in here, but it also has your instructions for how coaches can sign up for their training and background check. I'm just going to go through one of the options, but there are a few options for coaches to register themselves or for you to register your coaches that are new or are already signed up with NAYS. So if you're registering someone who's new to NAYS, you would go back into your NAYS member organization account. You'd select the pre-register members option, which would take you to this page, and you'd start a new member batch. Here is where you would select that you're now registering a new coach. You'd enter the coach's first name, last name, their email address. You'd select which sport they're going to be training, sport they're going to be coaching, because that is which training they'll be registered for. And then here's your option saying, yes, I want this coach to have a background check, or no, this person doesn't need to do the background check. When you add that person to the batch and press continue to process, you'd see the NAYS fee here is $20, the background check is $15, a total of $35. This is if you're choosing to pay for it. You can either enter credit card information. Some of our organizations have an account balance with us, so that would also be an option if you want to use the funds from your account balance, or if you want us to send you an invoice, or you have a purchase order that you sent to NAYS that you want to be billed that way. Once you press submit and process this new coach who's been registered for their background check and training, the coach would get an email from NAYS. It's going to say they need to complete their NAYS coach registration. It'll have your organization's name here. Our sample was NAYS Parks and Rec. They would click the link, and it would take them to the completion of their registration. So you see their name was already pre-filled in their email, but everything else that's required, they're going to have to enter in here. You'll see it's 7 steps. The step 7 is going to be their background check authorization. It's a consent form. It's a secure legal form, and actually that comes straight from Sterling's database. And when they submit that, their background check information, the details required to run the background check are sent over to Sterling immediately. After that, they're able to jump right into their NAYS training. So they'd see which trainings they've been registered for, and then they'd also be able to monitor their background check status. So they'd see at this point the coach's results came back and they're eligible to coach. Again, that's what the coach would experience. They also get notification emails throughout. With Sterling, what's cool is they're able to see the results of their background check if they want. If they happen to be coaching for any other organizations, they can even share their background check results with another nonprofit to show that they've been screened recently. And another thing I wanted to show you a demonstration of briefly, this is back from the organization side. is that when you log into your account and you go to your member list, you can see your members here. I'm looking at coaches right now, and I can see I have a column for background check status and also background check expiration. I can do a few things with these. Commonly, you would click on background check status up here in the search by section to filter through and just see coaches who are pending review. Every time there's a coach that needs a review, you would get a notification. You could log in here to do it or just go directly from the email that you got. But you could click here and do pending review. And now I see a coach is in here that has the yellow hazard symbol, which means that they're pending review. There would be a little key at the bottom as well, but I don't have it in my screenshot. But you would check and click here on this coach's icon, and it would prompt you to log in securely to Sterling. Now, when you type in your username and password that you set up with Sterling, it would bring you directly to this coach's report, and it would show you the results, and then from there you would click eligible or ineligible. As soon as you click eligible or ineligible, it would update the NAYS member organization account, and the coaches get the notifications as well. So now that we're here on this Sterling login, I'm going to pass it over to Troy. I'm going to give him control of the mouse so he can continue and talk about the sign-up process with Sterling volunteers.
Okay, thanks, Kate. Taking control, and I wanted to first say thank you for putting this together. I'm actually going to cover just a few slides. One, I wanted to talk about our credentialing process, some additional benefits of this integration that we have, and then some other options of signing up, as well as a quick demo. The credentialing process itself, as you may not know, background screening companies are heavily regulated by the Federal Trade Commission and have to follow some strict guidelines for the Fair Credit Reporting Act just to do business. So our credentialing team here at Sterling Volunteers, the first thing they look for is to ensure that any organization using our services is a legitimate US-based business. So we have built an online sign-up process for all NAYS members and non-NAYS members as well. It's the same process, but the first step is you're going to receive, as a NAYS member organization, an email from NAYS that contains a unique link to sign up. And it's just going to be a simple web form. It'll take about 10 minutes to complete. The first step is just give us a little bit of information about who you are, to request a quote, and then the prices that Kimberly shared would already be pre-baked into the credentialing process. Once you receive the documents through DocuSign, we'll send that over to our credentialing team to approve, and then we get the account set up within 2 to 3 days at most, and then we'll start communicating with NAYS that we have another mutual customer for integration, and so we can turn on that integration within a couple of days from that. The benefits of this seamless integration we built with NAYS, obviously this is going to save some time through the automation. You saw some of the value and benefits of already just being able to click from your NAYS registration and have that volunteer experience carry right into Sterling, as well as to see status reports and things like that. Those are phenomenal benefits. They save a lot of time for both the administrators as well as the volunteers. And as Kate mentioned, multiple payment options through the integration or outside the integration. We have multiple payment options as well. We can showcase that here down the road. But also once the background checks are completed, of course the coaches own it. Whether they paid for the background check or not, it is their material, it's their information, and they can share it, they can review it, they can even dispute the information with us if they find something that's not correct, all in compliance with the Fair Credit Reporting Act. So we also mentioned disqualifiers, marking folks eligible or ineligible. The account owners, the organizations, if you will, are responsible for making that kind of end decision. Whether we find somebody that has a misdemeanor, let's say a DWI from 5 years ago, some policies would say, that's okay. We can consider them eligible, but another person might have 3 DWIs in the last 3 years, and it's showing a pattern. Some organizations might deem them ineligible. So the end users at the organization control who's eligible and who's ineligible. So we're going to provide you some flags and some tools in our technology to make that easier to manage. But the benefits of this integration is you can see all of that from the NAYS dashboard if you choose to go through the integration path. If you choose to go outside the integration path, you'll still have access to all those tools, but it'll just be right inside of Sterling's platform itself. So you do have a couple of choices when setting up your accounts. Just know that there's only one credentialing process, but you can have 2 accounts. Maybe perhaps we have an organization where head coaches and assistant coaches get, the NAYS training and background checks, but maybe team moms don't need the NAYS training and they do just need background checks. We can set up both of those accounts for you. The non-integrated accounts that we are setting up, it's the same credentialing process, but we can also publish you a unique URL that you can share with your volunteers and have them screen directly in your account. So inside the, regardless which path you guys choose, whether it's integrated or non-integrated, you're always going to have a Sterling managed account. So I was going to show you the 2 sides of our platform, one for the organization side, but then I thought we could take a minute or 2 and just run through the volunteer experience. So if you guys do have that unique URL and you guys are pushing that out to your volunteers, what would that look and feel like from a volunteer perspective? So I'm going to dive into the demo from the organization side first and just show you how to mark individuals eligible or ineligible. You'll have issued your username and password from Sterling's credentialing team once the account is set up. And you'll have access to a dashboard with a plethora of tools. I'm not going to go through all of them, but the first step you want to do is review those background checks. And if it was flagged in the NAYS system, if you're integrated users, you can just look at what Kate said. It'll take you right into the consumer's report. But if you're using us outside the integration, we give you some easy tools just to find those that we flagged as a consider. We'll just take a look at Matthew Richards' report. We just click on his name. And what you're going to have is a PDF report come up on your screen, and you can scroll through and kind of read like a storybook. Okay, we found an individual in North Carolina court system. We'll scroll down and actually read the criminal report and determine whether this crime that was committed, it's a misdemeanor, we just go up to review and mark them eligible or ineligible. Once that election's made for integrated users, that is being passed over to NAYS through the seamless integration. So you'll see the word eligible or ineligible in the NAYS system as well, right? So for non-integrated users, that'll stay inside your managed account environment. And if you want to just manage your volunteers long-term in our database, as Kim said, it kind of does act like a mini VMS volunteer management system because we do have a lot of reporting options. And sorting options as well. And you can export from here and upload in here. There's lots of cool tools to do and manage that. So I'm going to kind of jump out and kind of jump into, as a volunteer, what that process is for those guys. It's a little different from the integrated users versus non-integrated users. With the integration, all these fields that I'm about to show you are pretty much pre-baked already into the NAYS integration. So this isn't something that they would go through if we're going through the NAYS integration. But if it's outside the NAYS integration and you guys have volunteers coming through that unique link that we publish for you, they're going to click on a link and they're going to sign in. And within 4 easy steps, they'll be able to order their background check from any device. They can use it from iOS or Android, a PC or Mac. It's rapidly responsive to those. And the 4-step ordering process really is just collecting their name, their date of birth, social security number is optional, and just your general demographic information. And then step 2, we're asking where their current address is, and that's important for us when we're performing the criminal background checks at the local courthouse. This is determining where we're going to go and search. And then step 3, based on their current address, they might have different laws in other states like California, Oklahoma, or Minnesota. We're going to provide them the proper state and federal release forms and collect that authorization directly from the volunteer. Once we collect the authorization electronically, they're checking out. So step 4 is the payment option. So if they're going to be paying for the background check, then we'll collect the payment at this time. If we're going to invoice the organization 100% of the cost, they just check out and don't have to pay. But we do have a couple of other options for organizations. On the payment options, we have what's called a contribution. Kim mentioned at the beginning here that we saved $3.5 million last year to our user base. And what that comes from is we can ask the volunteer for a contribution on behalf of our client. And about 50% of our sports customers actually save that money when Sterling's doing the ask on their behalf. So we'll tell the coach, hey, it's going to be, $15 for a background check. But if you're able to help defray the cost, please consider a contribution at this time. And they can pay for part of it, all of it, or none of it. And so it's a unique feature to Sterling. It's been very popular with our users. So even though you might not have the full budget for background checks, keep in mind we can help save that cost. The other alternative is we can pre-bake in like a percentage split. So 50% of the background check could be paid for by the organization and the remainder picked up by the volunteer. So you got 100% org pay or 100% volunteer pay. We also have a contribution option, and then we also have a percentage option as well. So that's the 4-step process that they go through. Literally can be done, like I said, on any device, but it's also done in under 3 minutes. So pretty convenient for them as well. So I think that was it, Kate, for the demo. And I'm going to pass it back to you.
All right. Thanks, Troy. And I can grab the mouse control back from you. I got it. All right. I'm going to go back to our slides, but that's wrapping it up for the rehearsed presentation here. And I'm sure you can see that there's a lot that goes behind the scenes, a lot of features, and it may seem like a lot, but what we've learned from our member organizations is that once they get rolling with the first couple coaches and get familiar with the site, they love it, and they're saving a lot of time. They love that the coaches can authorize it online. They don't have to worry about collecting paperwork and all that. I don't see any questions typed in so far. If you have any questions for us, we will send you an email in 24 hours. I think it's scheduled 24 hours from now, and I'll include my email address there as well. I'm going to type it into the chat too. I'm at kate@nays.org. And we'd be happy to walk you through something individually or to just clarify anything that you learned today. But again, we appreciate your time joining us for the webinar. And be well, stay safe, and thanks again, Kim and Troy, for sharing your expertise.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Bye, everyone.